Hey there, remember this? Well good, cause in this video, we finish it. No we don't. We gotta get started on this, y'all, because I do not know how long this process is gonna take. It's time to make the skirt that goes with this top. To catch you up in case you didn't see the first video, although I would really recommend just watching the first video, these dresses, wow, so beautiful, so inspirational, but what about cheaper and easier and homemade? Enter felt. 3 weeks later, we have the proof of concept, which is this top. Yes, it took 3 weeks to make, hence unsure about timing here. Did I mention that I made a full circle skirt to go with it? When will this video be coming out? It's March right now. I've had a while now to gather some opinions on this project over on Instagram, and they mostly boil down to cool, but it looks like mosaic, not stained glass. Fair enough. I mean, I was inspired by stained glass patterns and stained glass dresses, but if you take the glass out of stained glass, it is pretty much just mosaic. And considering I'm using an opaque fabric, and especially since that fabric is sitting up on top of a black background, making it look more like grout rather than the metal things in between glass. What are those called? I feel like I knew that word and now I don't. Yeah, it's gonna look like mosaic. It just seems a little weird to be like, ooh, my mosaic dress inspired by stained glass. But whatever. Anyway though, there's a couple things that I've gotta get done before we can move on to the felt of it all. Things that I lazily avoided in previous videos because I wasn't in the mood. Number one, the petticoat is still a little too big around the waist, which means it's still a little saggy. A lot of people said use a drawstring, not elastic. That's a great idea, but I used elastic, so too late. It's not really too late, but I'm gonna pretend it's too late. Number two, the pockets are still on backwards. Yay! So I am gonna put on my big girl pants and go fix those things. Why is fixing things so unpleasant when making things is so much fun? Due to said unpleasantness, I'm gonna let you skip it. Give me a minute, take a little break. I'll be back when it's felt time. Oh hey, while you're taking a little break, and I'm fixing some backwards pockets, allow me a moment to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Bombas. If you've been around the channel for any chunk of time, you've probably heard about my hatred of socks. It's a sensory thing. Most socks just drive me nuts. That doesn't mean I can get away with no socks though, because ooh, stinky feet set in fast. So I am forever seeking socks that I will actually enjoy, and y'all, Bombas has them. The material is so soft and delightful to the touch, and there's no seam across the toe. That makes such a huge difference. I got the cushioned socks with just a little extra softness under the foot, and I'm genuinely loving the feel. I love a no-show sock with my favorite slip-on shoe of the moment, but every pair I tried before would not stay on my foot. Bombas has these great stay-put heel grips on their no-shows, and when I put them to the test, there was no slippage. Huzzah! And this is just something that I love so much about Bombas. One purchase equals one donation. So every time you buy a pair of socks, they donate a pair. Bombas is now offering international shipping to over 200 countries. So feel good and do good with Bombas, knowing that your purchase does some real good. New customers get 20% off their first purchase. Just click the link in the description and use code THESTITCHERY at checkout. Big thanks to Bombas for warding off my stinky sneaker feet and sponsoring this video. Shall we go see if I have finished all of those pesky fixes yet? And we're back! Huzzah! Everything is fixed. Bring on the felt. Actually, no. We still gotta talk design. Or rather, I still have to do design. So what I figured out while doing the top is that I'm going with a tropical theme over this whole thing. The top is kind of the sky. It's got the clouds and the sun and a little hummingbird. And then that sky is going to melt down into not sky. Basically, the bottom of the skirt is gonna have like the plants and the flowers and everything coming up, and then meeting with the sky, probably somewhere around like mid-hip level. And the method that really worked the best for getting this done and not getting overwhelmed is kind of to do section by section. So I started with the sun, I just cut out the sun, sewed on the sun, and then like you do all the areas. So then I did the clouds, then I did the hummingbird, and then you fill in the space around that with the sky tiles. I'm gonna go with basically that exact same method on the skirt. I wanna start with some animals, specifically birds. I need to decide what birds I want, because I kind of want the most colorful, most beautiful tropical birds. And I know those exist, but I don't really want to like make it up. I want them to be kind of realistic. Like the hummingbird on the top is the colors of a ruby-throated hummingbird. So I don't just want to be like random magical fake birds. Let's do a bit of research. I'm not sure why, but I don't really want to do a macaw. We could possibly do a toucan though. Toucan? Or toucan. I like toucan. Okay, I'm zeroing in on the resplendent Quetzal in this drawing, probably because he's got the most incredible name. Also, these guys are stunning. What are those? Oh my god, this one is called a cordon bleu? Like, the chicken? Isn't it chicken cordon bleu? Oh, what's the story behind that? Oh, a scarlet ibis could be fun, because that would really get like a nice chunk of red onto the skirt. It's more of a standing bird. Oh my god, that guy is terrifying. Ooh, okay. The rainbow lorikeet. That's what that really pretty one is. Those are incredible. I think we have a winner, but also I kind of want to throw a Quetzal in somewhere because they're freaking adorable. I like that long tail. So what if I did 2 rainbow lorikeets on sort of the front half of the skirt, maybe one of them sitting on a branch and one of them in flight. Then sort of on the back, there could be a scarlet ibis and a Quetzal. Are they all resplendent Quetzals? Or is that a specific type of Quetzal that is so resplendent? I would kind of like to put other animals on here, like a jaguar face poking out of the foliage would be really cool, but then I'm not sure if that's gonna end up looking weird size-wise. I mean, I've already kind of crapped out on that because the hummingbird on the bodice is pretty dang big. So perspective doesn't matter that much. But also I could do like bugs. They're really pretty tropical beetles and stuff. Butterflies. I should definitely throw some butterflies on there, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so that's the whole point of this method. That is, do one thing at a time. I have a lot of real estate to cover on this circle skirt, so I think I should just focus right now on the lorikeets, then we can move on to other stuff from there, bit by bit. Let's draw some birds. So I'm not exactly a drawing expert, but I'm decently good at copying 2D examples, which is why I saved a whole bunch of images. After some quick sketches, I decided I preferred the profile position for the sitting lorikeet, and then I went over all the lines more precisely before deciding if I needed to split up any big areas into more than one tile. This one is mostly small sections already, so I only ended up adding one extra line. Started cutting it all out, realized there's no reason for me to be using these massive scissors. Bring in the squirrels! So cute. Once every separate tile is cut out, I can lay out the pieces with the gaps in between like they'll actually have on the skirt and see if there are any problem areas. Ta-da! The feet may be a little weird in the felt, but I'm gonna leave it for now. We'll figure it out later. The sitter is done. Time for the flyer. This one I just did in Photoshop because I wasn't sure what position I wanted until I found this fabulous photo, which, like, perfection. Love it. Let me just trace right over that and cut it out. That's also a great option if you aren't a skilled sketch artist. Tracing rocks. I got the whole thing labeled and cut out and adjusted, and then I paused to bake a chocolate cake because I wanted a chocolate cake. Okay, now it is time for felt. Ugh, that's the exact thing I've been trying to avoid. No sudden movements, no breezes. I did realize that in choosing this position, all of these feathers on the end are gonna have to be gray, but also that's fine because it's a really cool position. There will be plenty of bright colors everywhere. So first of all, we have the absolutely brilliant, vibrant blue. Then we will need the green. We've got red, orange. I'm gonna do like a light gray for the talon feet. I do have to remember these are simplified versions. They do not need to look exactly perfectly like a real bird. And then I'm gonna go ahead and grab some brown for the stick that the other one is sitting on. Eventually I might expand that stick, but I'll probably just put things over the two sides of it, foliage and stuff, so that you can't see where the stick supposedly goes. I'm doing all this chatting now because as I continue to work on this skirt, there's no way that I can keep filming and chatting about every single little bit. So we're gonna do extra chatting here at the start. It will become sort of a repeated process for each new thing. It may look entirely different, but it will be comprised of the same steps. So that's our color palette. Basically like primary colors, rainbow, woo! That's why they're called rainbow lorikeets. I definitely need a bigger display piece of felt. This was also something I discovered on the bodice. In order to keep all your felt tiles from going all over the place and being a mess, it's best to arrange them all on a piece of felt as you cut them out, because the felt kind of sticks to itself. So you can lay them all out exactly how they're gonna be, and it kind of stays there, and you don't have to worry as much about losing pieces. And because every single piece is unique, I do just find it easiest to hold them on the felt one at a time and cut them out. Like trying to trace something onto felt and then cut out the lines is actually just sort of an unnecessary extra step. So easier to just do it this way for me. Oh, the cake is smelling good. I did find it funny that one of the other most common comments on Instagram, which like Instagram comments always crack me up because especially when something goes kind of big, the vast majority of people don't have any context for it. They haven't seen the longer video. So you just get like really uninformed comments, which is fine, you know, to a point. It's whatever. But a lot of the ones on this piece, on the bodice, were people freaking out or being very concerned or incredulous about washing it. Like so many varied opinions. There were all the people who were like, you can't wash felt. And I'm like, I think that has to do with whether the felt is wool or acrylic. Like this is definitely all acrylic. There's no way I'd be using wool felt for a project like this. But also like my immediate thought with washing was just like, oh, you know, it's got a lot of pieces on it that are barely held on. You know, it would need to be very, very gentle. And I assumed from the start that if I needed to wash this at any point, I would do so probably like by hand in the bathtub, lay it out to dry, all that kind of stuff. But like what I especially found funny is people just being like, oh, it's impractical because it'll be either difficult or impossible to wash. The garment is impractical. And I was like, do you think that I spent 3 weeks sewing felt tiles by hand onto a bodice because I wanted a practical garment that I could wear anywhere, anytime? Like, this is an art piece. It happens to be a wearable art piece, but it is an art piece nonetheless. I will not be putting this on to run to the grocery store or even just to like go to a party or something. And that's okay. A lot of people sometimes are like, oh, it's such a shame if you make something and then you don't wear it that much. And I'm like, that kind of depends on what it is you made and what your purpose was. I make a lot of things that are art and are just meant to hang on a wall and be on display. And, you know, just because it's in the shape of a garment that I can put on my body doesn't necessarily make that any different. So yeah, to me, I wasn't that concerned about washing because I don't plan on wearing this garment on any sort of consistent level. This would be like Maybe if I can find like a fashion show or something to enter it in, of course I'll wear it for a photo shoot, for like those kind of things where you can kind of just Febreze it afterward, spray some vodka on it, or like if really necessary, give it the old hand wash in a bathtub kind of thing. But yeah, I just found that hilarious because this general concept that like, why would I bother making this garment if I can't, you know, wear it consistently and throw it in the wash? And I was like, oh yeah, we still do not recognize sewing and textile crafts as artwork, do we? We obviously do. I would assume the majority of my audience does, but like on the whole, the general public does not really get that concept still. So you still kind of just get that response of like, that's impractical. And I'm like, that's because it's art. Lord have mercy, you think I was trying to be practical? Anyway, all right, that's all the brown. We have a branch, yay! And as exciting as I'm sure that was to watch, how about we skip ahead? It's cake time anyway. Woo! We are done with the birds, with cutting out the birds. This is gonna take a long time, but I am really excited to see it slowly come to life, and I'm probably gonna work on it a lot during like second channel videos and maybe even live streams. I have been thinking about doing like craft with me live streams. By the time you're seeing this, that is all in the past though. Did I do live streams? I'm trying to decide if I want to lay these out on the actual skirt and pin them in place and then stitch all of them down, or if it would be better to just leave them like this and stitch one piece at a time. Based on my prior experience with the top, I think it's better to just do it one at a time. Like, a part of my brain wants to see these on the skirt and see like what the placement and the angles are gonna be and everything. But when I did that on the top, I just had to remove everything because it was too like in the way when I started sewing. And now is a good time to mention something else that a whole lot of people mentioned. Why not use glue? Lots of people wanted to know, am I using glue? Will I use glue? Why am I not using glue? You could definitely do this entire style with just glue, with fabric glue that is permanent and, you know, will keep you from having to stitch. You could still stitch around it for the look of it, but you could also just glue down your tiles and not have to stitch, and that would be a perfectly fine way to do this. You could also use like glue stick to stick a piece down so that it's easier to sew it on and it's not gonna be like shifting around and stuff, and then you can wash the glue stick away. I will not be doing either of those things, for now at least. Never say never, we'll see how this goes. It's not in my plans though. I am just personally not a huge fan of glue and fabric mixed together, and I don't mean that in like a snobby way, like, ew, you're using glue. No, like, everybody do whatever they wanna do. Do what makes you happy, do what you like. I don't like it. I don't like really using glue much at all. I don't like sticky things. And also, as I mentioned, washing this is going to be a delicate process, so I don't really want to use glue stick and then have to wash it off. I'm just gonna pin each piece on like I did the first time, and honestly, it should be way easier on the skirt than it was on the top, because one, I'm not dealing with a sorry, my voice just disappeared there. I'm not dealing with a lining this time. It's just one piece of fabric, and also the fabric of the skirt is not as like slippery. It's not as slippery as the stuff that I used on the bodice. So theoretically, the entire sewing of the skirt should be easier than the bodice. There's just gonna be way more of it. Also, I'm not in the car this time, so there's that. But yeah, without further ado's, let us stitch. Just kidding, not today. I have other stuff to do today, but it's here, it's ready. I will get to stitching at some point. The lorikeets are done, love them, this is going great, and I'm on to the scarlet ibis, which I want to make a little bit bigger just because, like, they're bigger in real life. That is way too big. Went too big on my first try, but we ended up with this. And since there's so many big sections, I'm gonna split up all of those into separate tiles before cutting the whole pattern out. From there, it's the tail as old as, well, a couple of months ago when I started this project, I guess. Cut the pieces of felt out, arrange them on my makeshift backing, then sew them on with all those French knots. The resplendent Quetzal is next, but since it's a smaller bird, I thought why not give him a partner? I'ma do 2 of them. Finally remembered my job is to film stuff. Started filming and then immediately walked out of the room and stopped working. We're doing great. And these were definitely the hardest ones so far to draw and cut out in pattern form. I kind of cheated, or rather just didn't follow my original style of making every single bit a separate tile, because oh my goodness, they have a lot of small pointy feathers. But they turned out lovely, and we're done with birds, y'all. Y'all, it's been months. I'm pretty sure it's been months at least. Months since I last touched this, other than to move it out of the way in this studio over and over and over again. The thing is, when I was working on this, it was really taking up the entire dining room table with all of the supplies. And I used that dining room table for a lot of projects. So when I paused on this one, I had to stash all of those supplies, and then you know, I got into other projects, and then I took a trip, and then I had to catch up on work, and then I took another trip, and then I just didn't feel like getting this out and taking up the whole dining room table again. Time is just flying by, and this baby is sitting in the back of all my videos teasing you. I think I'm having trouble going back to work on this because the birds were kind of an enclosed section of the project. They were their own little bit. I could start and finish that without it being this huge time commitment. But then it feels like the rest of the skirt is just the rest of the skirt, and it could take months upon months to cover the rest of this. And it's like, where could I possibly pause in there? Where can I take a break so that I can do other things and continue putting out consistent videos and not grow to despise this project? Y'all, you gotta take breaks from things or you end up really hating the project, and then it's like, why were you even doing it? So I've come to a decision. We're not going to finish the skirt in this video. Fear not, we will finish it. I'm doing this to make sure that I will finish it. And I am gonna do a little bit more on it in this video because I went and rewatched the whole beginning that I've already edited that, you know, is on my old camera because it was months ago. And I was like, oh yeah, the bugs. I talked about wanting to add like beetles and butterflies, tropical bugs to this, and I had completely forgotten about that. I was thinking the rest of this is just all foliage and then like sky. But the bugs are another enclosed little bit. I can start that and finish it without committing the next 6 months of my life to this. Yeah? Yay. So that's the plan. I'm going to add some beetles, some butterflies, but once I've done that, we're wrapping up this video and there will be another part to this project where I actually finish the rest. And when will that be? I don't know. I don't know, because I'm gonna need another break from it. Let's research bugs. These are the search results where you really want to utilize that minus AI thing, because otherwise, oh my god. You look up tropical birds, rainforest butterflies, you get so much slop. Ooh! There's already both gorgeous and ugly ones. Already with beetles, you run into the question of the legs. Like, how big am I making these? I mean, this one right here has orange legs, so that's helpful. But a lot of them, like if their legs are black, that's not really gonna work. They might just have to be legless. Legolas, the beetle? Because the black would just blend in so much with the back of with the actual skirt. There were a few black sections on the birds, but they were big enough that surrounded in other colors, you'll notice them, right? All that to say, this beetle's cool. I like the turquoise and orange. But yeah, like I don't want to do this butterfly that is mostly orange and black or red and black because it's too much black to be putting on a black background. Ooh, this guy's fiery red. That could be fun. I mean, But see, I'm starting to think ahead a little bit better. The tiny little dots on here, not really something I can do in the felt style that I'm doing. Like this one really was kind of the best, the turquoise orangey guy. A green beetle would be great. There we go. Yeah, that'd work. It has the little like stripe of orange around too. All right, let's look for butterflies. Lots of options here, but a lot of them are still mostly or heavily black. Yeah, butterflies are a tough one because even with minus AI, you do still get some AI on here, but also people just draw butterflies all the time and they draw them however they want. So if I say real tropical butterfly, what if I just say real butterflies? It doesn't have to be tropical. Just show me all the prettiest real ones. Orange albatross butterfly. Do I just need to look up some of these things separately? Bam! This one's great. Yeah, this is exactly what I need. I need butterflies that are basically all one color. Otherwise, they're just gonna be too hard to do. I like a yellow one. Ooh, emerald swallowtail. That could work. I mean, I should keep in mind that there's going to be a lot of green on the skirt in general with all of the foliage. But if I was doing one higher up on the skirt where it'll be surrounded by sky, it would stand out decently. Or I could just like let it blend in, you know, like butterflies do in real life. Ooh, I like the shape of the Julia butterfly. That'd be fun to do because it's different than the rest. It's got that elongated shape. I don't know why I didn't just look up a list first. This was the smart choice. Now I can just scroll through all the ones that are mostly black and then look them up by name. Brilliant. Anthocharis cardamines. That's from Europe. So see, I'm not doing a specific location, so it doesn't matter if one is from somewhere else. But that has that nice bright white. That could be really fun. This is getting me excited to start working on it again, so that's good. Oh, look at this little guy. He's blue and he doesn't really have any black on him. Adonis blue. We're gonna have butterflies from all over the world on this skirt, unapologetically. Cloudless sulfur butterfly. Aha! This is the one I had in my head. It's like, I know there's a yellow butterfly. And that's so nice and easy to do. It is just 4 yellow wings. All right, so I need to take this thing off and lay it on the ground, and then I can kind of see what areas are free right now. Get your pom-poms out of here. Oh, y'all. Why is it so big? Whose idea was this? Yeah, so we got quite a bit of space. Hi, I'm over here. It looks like less free space when it's hanging up or when it's on the mannequin. On the floor, it looks like so much. To just get a quick idea, I think like butterfly, beetle, butterfly, beetle, butterfly, butterfly. Now how many did I just say? That's like 4 butterflies and 2 beetles. Let's go make some outlines. Can I have? Please? Thanks. No. Oh, thank you. That's so helpful. Once I had decided on which butterflies and beetles I wanted, I just traced out their general shapes in Photoshop since I have such good reference images to go off of. And like, This is an approximation, or almost a cartoony version, you could say. They don't have to be perfect, and we're losing a lot of detail. I still don't know what I'm gonna do about the legs and antennae. I labeled each so I wouldn't forget about their color schemes, then printed those out, cut around them, and placed them on the skirt to check their size and find just the right location. Once I was happy with it, I made separate little labels and pinned them on so I wouldn't forget where I had wanted each one to go. Then 'twas time to pull out the supplies again. Dining room table, occupied. My squirrel scissors. I'd completely forgotten I packed all this stuff up with needles, scissors, paper, and all. I really thought I'd be coming back to it in like 2 weeks tops, rather than 2 months. Whoops. I made my felt color selections for each Buggity Boo Boo baby, except one. I actually don't have a good color of blue for the Blue Adonis, because everything I have is like either too bright or very like turquoisey. So this is the closest I have, but it's kind of too baby blue. If I can, I'll go to Michael's and see if I can find a better blue. If not, it's just gonna be a baby blue. That's okay. And then chose the Julia butterfly for my first focal point. Much like before, I'm just gonna cut out each one into its separate pattern pieces, adding extra lines to make bigger tiles smaller if necessary, then cut those pieces out of the appropriately colored felt, and stitch it all onto the skirt wherever I marked that it should go. Simple enough. Slow enough too. I like my crafts like I like my sloths. Slow and simple. I got a few of these babies done and then took a break to make financiers with some leftover egg whites and cherries I had on hand. Not Madeline's, I just used the Madeline pan. Didn't I already make a cake in this video? That was months ago, whatever. Then I started stitching the two beetles. This is the first thing that I've placed on the hem of the skirt where I did that wide double layer. Now, the point of this was to hide the stitching around the whole hem of the skirt. Like for a couple inches, I want to have all the inside stitching within that sandwich so you can't see it. That way when I'm wearing the skirt, if you catch a little glimpse of the inside hem, you see only black and not tons of threads. Yeah? This makes it way harder to stitch. So am I gonna stick with it for the entire massive length of this skirt hem? That is a question for the next video. Back to the butterflies, I did end up getting some new felt for the Blue Adonis, a much more accurate color, huzzah! And also, I did finally do a couple of live streams while working on this. Yay, that's a thing if you're into it. You can always go rewatch them if you want to see some slow stitching and hear hours worth of random chatting. It's a niche interest. But with the Blue Adonis stitched in place, y'all, we are done for now. Y'all, there are a few things that I am taking note of here, adjustments that are gonna have to happen down the road. Namely, every time I put the skirt on, it feels a little bit bigger on me. And I'm pretty dang sure I'm not losing weight, so I think that's just the fabric kind of stretching and relaxing over time. Also, I don't think there's a ton of extra weight on the skirt yet from the amount of tiles I've put on there. But when the whole skirt is covered, that amount of felt, as light of a fabric as it is going to be adding some extra weight. So I'm not gonna adjust it right now. I'm gonna wait until I'm done with the skirt. But I think the last thing that'll have to happen is like adjusting the waistband to perfectly fit me once all the tiles are on, which is why I made it as an adjustable split side skirt. One of the reasons why. Also, I just don't want to put in zippers. But that means that, you know, considering this project will take me probably over a year to complete, and then I'd like to be able to still wear it for whatever special occasion it needs to be worn for over the next several years after that, or, you know, the rest of my life, or whatever. It was smart to make it in an adjustable style. Anyway, I'm super glad I came to a stopping point on this. I was happy to sew some more stuff on it. It was fun to work on it again, but I'm very happy to be able to set it aside and work on something else, because I do just have so many other project ideas, and I don't want to get burnt out on this one. I want to finish it eventually, so it will happen. Don't ask me when. I don't know. I would assume, though, that it is maybe going to be done by the end of the year, but like, maybe not. Don't go looking for it anytime soon. I'm literally standing on top of my next project. Like, it's right here under my feet. I'm telling you, y'all. I have too many ideas to really commit like full-time hours for a month to one project. It's not even for the sake of, you know, content and getting videos out and stuff. I can't focus on one project for that long. Long-term projects have to be done in little increments. So the fact that when I start working on this one, it kind of takes up a lot of space and needs to be worked on a lot, it makes it harder to work on. I am looking forward to doing the rest, though. The skirt looks kind of weird right now with just like scattered stuff around. I realize that. It's okay if you think it looks weird right now. I do too, but it's gonna look awesome when it's fully covered, and that will happen. Eventually. Is this a real butterfly? That's what I'm asking, Reddit. Due to said unpleasantness, I think I'm having trouble going back to work on it. Hello, Trotty Paws. Did you bring your pom-pom? What do you think, puppy? Oh, thank you. Thanks for walking on everything. You got a stink of breath? Goodness. Calm yourself. Fascinating.